Hey everyone, I'm Wa.
And I'm Chris, and welcome to Sweeties.
We're two longtime friends who discuss the riveting and sometimes tedious or enlightening or solidifying and trashy world of reality TV and docuseries.
Yes, but through our own lens, honey, which can be peppery or salty or sweet. But at the end of the day, usually sweet. Like I've already said. So doubly sweet. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes so sweet, you're like too much sweet, but mostly not that usually sweet. We are talking about Life After Lockup, my loves. It's season 4, it's episode 47. This is Roses and Thorns. This is a kind of like, weird erotic sci-fi novel kind of title that like Wa would read, where it's like, a bed of thorns and dragons, and it's like some fucking crazy like purple-haired princess, that like has to fight to do some new world and like, you know, loses her virginity like multiple times in multiple different galaxies. Why?
Erotic sci-fi. And I want you to know that I'm going to text message your cousin, Kristen, and tell her you said that about us.
Okay.
Great. It's not erotic, and it's not sci-fi. So it's just like crazy that you would like say that. It's like fantasy. Sci-fi is
Is there
like
sex?
space and aliens.
Okay, is there sex?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, well, then why would I read it?
I don't know. I read that a long time ago. So what she's talking about is A Court of Roses and Thorns, or whatever that show movie is, book that I read a million years ago. Anywho, so let's jump right into this episode. Let's start off with Sarah and Sean. And y'all, Sean has got tears in his eyes. And Sarah knows that she done fucked up. She's in a car and she got all of her children's with her, all of her daughters, and they're on the way to the mom's house. And the mom calls her and is like, "Hey, what you doing?" And she's like, "On my way to your house." And she's like, "Oh, great." So she pulls up and her mother is outside on a patio furniture type table in the middle of the grass next to a derelict shack. And there is just happenstance, a kid's swing, and they put the baby on the kid's swing, and the child that's not Miley Grace, Abby, is that her name? Yeah, she's on the swing too. And Sarah tells her mother and her step pappy what went down between her and Sean. And mother is, I mean, they're all smoking the cigarettes. It's just a different, whenever I see folks just smoking cigarettes, it truly is a different way of life than I have ever had any kind of access to.
You know what? It's just there's different cultures because there's European cultures, there's Asian cultures, there's, Middle Eastern cultures that smoke different kinds of things. And there's, like, sort of like rural-esque, low poverty line living peeps,
Yeah, it's like
and
it's
like,
like Angela Deem, it's Chance and Taylor, like it's even
yes,
Puppy and Amper. Like
yes, yes, yes.
it's like anybody who's ever had an addiction has to lean on smoking cigarettes afterwards. They need some kind of something, little bit of something, get them through.
Remember how Mahmoud had a cigarette in the kitchen after he was done arguing with Nicole for the 47th time?
Yeah, and
You
even
know?
then I was like,
I know. So basically, I'll tell you right now that Sarah looks great. Her eyebrows and her hair color all make sense. They're all like rational, like they all look like that someone with wherewithal like thought about the choices they made and dying both of them and doing both of them. So I was so happy for her. This baby's enjoying the swing. The grandma's like, "Oh, look at that baby on the swing," like literally like her boyfriend, that guy was like, "Your daughters are here," like it's just such a life, like well, they're about to go in and like make some TV dinners, like but that's, here's the thing, I have some TV dinners too, so God bless. But so she then, we kind of also, I said this in the last episode, but it's also like a summer nights thing where then we go over to how Sean has been dealing with the emotional turmoil. And he calls his hot son, which I get, he calls his hot son, the one that he's always like video gaming with, now the one that they're super close. Now, here's the thing. Remember how the whole last season was about how like he wasn't going to forget his daughter and how his daughter and him are going to be like best friends and they're always going to talk. We never hear about that girl again, but we know because we
Gracie.
know, yeah, we know that Gracie, and unless she is, and dear God, tell me I'm wrong, is the one playing the video games. It's not probably.
It's Jaden. It's another son.
Yeah, but I feel like this older son probably pops in every now and then,
You're right.
like them boys love that video game. Like I can't get
Mhm.
like, like it's funny because I loved video games too. Like I had them all growing up. Like I was into Sega and Nintendo and like Super Nintendo and like, PlayStation. Like I had like I should have a Nintendo Switch right now. I bought it and then returned it because it was too expensive and I ran out of money. It was an Amazon impulse buy. But I like them. It's just so interesting how encapsulated certain generations of men are with them.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, it's true, and I think that also certain men that we never talk about are also encapsulated with porn, and I wonder what the crossover is.
I have never dated somebody. Let me say that. Let me think before not that I know of. I've never dated anybody. At least the last person that I was with was definitely not into video games. And I could not be more grateful. He not only was he not into video games, Chris, he was also not into sports. And I could have never been more grateful. You know what he was into though? Was cars. And listen, okay. Okay.
What does he want to do with them? Fuck them? No, I'm just kidding. What does he want to do with them?
He has a Corvette, so he likes to purchase them and like drive around really fast in them.
Oh, okay. Like when you I guess when you say like, I don't know if he wants to take you to car shows. That
He
sounds
goes to them.
horrible.
He goes to them, and I would have gone with him. I mean, listen, he's not into
What?
video games, but you're into video games, so I don't think you would be annoyed with a guy who's into video games because you'd play with
I
him.
would be. I would be because he's not going to be like into ones that I like, like I like
Like
dumb
Mario
ones
Kart.
and yeah, like I want dumb fun ones and they're going to want to do like first shooter, like
Yeah.
I don't want to open the news. Why would I want to like live this life? I absolutely don't. Like this isn't me for me.
Yeah.
But
No,
there's
I
not like
am
cottage core. There's no cottage core video
Sims.
games.
Yeah, there's no like girls
Yes,
putting things in her basket as she's going through her garden.
like picking berries and like she puts on makeup and it's like berry makeup,
Yeah. She
Stupid.
makes it work. She's like under the sea with Ariel, and she's just like using different sea plants in order to make the things. No, but like it was like he could have been into sports, he could have been into video games, and he wasn't. And I was like very grateful that I didn't have to like come to his house and see him like at the tail end of some game or like so it's great. He's great. So we have her talking to her mother, and her mother's like, well, of course he's upset, you should have told him from the beginning. And Sarah's like, you're right, but I didn't want to, because she wanted to keep that little secret. She wanted to be able to like meet up with Anthony and who's the truth is we don't know if she's actually met up with Anthony more than the times that we saw. I mean, I think she has, but we don't know that. So she feels really bad about it. And the mother's like, well, is he mad at me? And she's like, yeah, because he asked you directly and you lied to him. So now he just thinks that everyone in the family is lying to him and he can't trust them anymore because of this thing. He's all teary-eyed talking to his son. And Sarah then gets those words of wisdom. Her mother's like, well, that's too far if he's thinking that you're going to cheat on him because like he doesn't know who you are. And she's like, it hurts me that now he is thinking that I'm capable of something like that. Cut to Sean saying that he is now getting a super amazing taste of his own medicine from all the times that he cheated on Kelly and that he just did her dirty. Now he knows how it feels to have someone completely break your trust. And so to me, he truly has no other options but to forgive her because he would want grace if that were him, as well as like, what is he going to do? Just up and move back to Vegas?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no options for him at this point.
Yeah, I love it. I wrote, at the end of this, anyway, yes. But so let's talk about the fact that he's obviously breaking barriers. He has no friends, so he's telling his son all his business and he shouldn't even be telling his son the business, like that's a boundary, but who knows what boundaries are when you're someone like him. And now she knows she has to go home with the baby and like face what's happening. And she is afraid if she doesn't know he's going to be there. So she gets in the house. She's holding the baby's in the hip. She goes down, makes herself a little snack, makes the baby a snack, like some sort of like strawberry dinner. You know what I'm saying? I'm not quite sure. The kind of thing that I want to like have like a Sims cottage core, like where I make strawberries and like they turn into like my like lipstick. I don't know. God bless. So I eat it, whatever. God bless. My lips are strawberries. So, and then she's feeding the baby and he like is weird and they have a conversation. And I always think, even if you're in a fight, you haven't seen that baby all day long.
Yeah.
Like, why are you not like, shh,
show me my baby?
Give me that baby.
Yeah.
Go now that you're home, do whatever the fuck you're going to do. Shower or do whatever you need to do, masturbate, fix a nail, like make like a little fruit roll up, like what? I don't know.
I stopped paying attention for 1 second and I heard masturbate. So I
know that's how I got
realized that I needed to put my phone down and pay attention to you because you're just gonna go saying on
willy-nilly
just
things,
saying whatever,
So basically, yeah, like he doesn't ever do that. So then they have this conversation where he is crying and he's like, I just never thought that I, whatever, like not think that I could trust you. And how would I ever go on with this? Like, and she's like, I know, but you don't understand. I have to have a relationship for Abby. And he's like, I get that, but not after the first time. And he's like, so like emo about it. And I wrote down like, motherfucker, you remember Destiny? I remember Destiny. Destiny like almost ruined your wedding and you wouldn't even tell your wife that for some reason you still picked up every time she called for no fucking reason. So if she wants to maybe have some daddy time with her actual baby's daddy, I mean, God bless. Wow.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I also think that you could like get that braid a little bit closer to your scalp. Are you scared? Are you tender-headed? What's happening? Like just braid it. You braid it like your scalp is on fire and you can't just like get.
I don't know how to braid it very well.
Don't. Okay, no, that's what's happening. Okay, great.
I don't know how to do it.
Okay, great. Because I'm like, your hair is like done. You like, and then I take this piece and I wrap it around this finger, and then I have to make sure I tuck it in, and then I get the other side and I bring it forward. And like it's like very rudimentary. I just want you to like.
I can't. I've never known how to braid. I can't French braid, and I'm just trying to like. I'm trying to have like a protective hairstyle because I like move around all night.
Trying to have a protective hairstyle.
Yeah.
That has entered your zeitgeist?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show you how to braid your hair because it really is like a 3-second job. Yeah. So I really do think it's a taste of his own bloody medicine. And for him to be like, I never thought I wouldn't be able to trust you. Yeah, Chris, you just broke her trust 9 months ago. Not even that. She was pregnant during the pregnancy. I mean, she was pregnant during the wedding. So you just broke her trust 4 to 6 months ago, where you were talking to some weird, like drug addict, crazy woman who you bought a car for, and it all went downhill. Like you were deserving of this exact moment. And so your tears, they do nothing for me but make me want to laugh at you. Ha ha ha. As you know, from the Lion King. Okay, so he ends up kind of forgiving her. And like she talks in very low tones and soft tones, and she says everything, and she's like, listen, I think you should just meet him because it'll make you feel better. And he's like, I don't want to meet him. He does this stupid, I don't want to meet him. And she's like, well, I think it'd be the thing to do, but just know that I made a mistake and I did what's wrong and I understand. And she's going to have to now, when he's the wrong one for every moment of their relationship, she's now going to have to just suck it up. And she's never going to be able to live this down for at least a year, right? He's going to hold that against her for a while. So let's move on to Cam and Eris. So for Cam and Eris, how often is she going to have to be patient with him when he gets upset about something stupid?
A lot, because she decided to marry someone like that, was in prison and doesn't have a lot of like emotional equipment to unpack certain things. And that's the life she picked.
And it's just very tedious for me to watch her have to do this over and over again. So she's 16 weeks pregnant, which we had no idea, unless
Yeah,
like,
thank you.
Yeah, she's been pregnant the whole time basically. And because I know they haven't been filming them for 6 months. Like I imagine that when they go to film people, they have certain ideas of what they want to do. And then when they don't capture that, or when they get to the editing floor and they realize they don't have enough footage of like silly scenarios, and they come back to them. You know, I feel like they did that with Sean and Sarah. Like the baby was little, and then 3 months later they came back and started doing something else.
Yes.
So now she's 16 weeks pregnant. So she's 4 months. And when she gets up, girl, I mean, she looks more than 4 months, unless she just, that baby is just coming out of her like that little nugget is just taking up a lot of her body, you know, at this moment.
No,
Which is
yeah.
the
I will say
craziest
this is
thing.
not the picture of that, but she does look, I just looked at her in this picture and I was like, you are so beautiful.
To
Like Eris
me,
is, I know,
can't
Eris.
you see? You're
Yeah,
everything I hope for. You're everything I need.
it's just like,
You are so beautiful to me.
okay. It's like I
Darla.
know, yeah, yeah, I
You didn't
know. And you're
watch
doing a Little
you
Rascals.
didn't
I
watch Little
know. Well,
Rascals? Okay, great.
I I did. I very much knew the whole time that you were doing a Little Rascals version of the actual song. I knew this
That's the
wasn't
only
the
version I
Wobbles.
know. That's the only
Well, too
version I know.
bad. It's was it really beautiful? The original song is gorgeous.
I mean, I know the Nat King Cole. I think I've heard Nat King Cole's version.
Okay.
Or is it
So
the
no, it's not hacking.
blind man? What's his name?
Yeah, I think it's that one. One of the
Yeah.
blind ones.
One of the blind ones. Isn't it crazy that there's two? There's Stevie Wonder and then there's
Ray Charles.
Ray Charles. It's like wild that they're just like,
I know.
okay,
I
anyways.
know.
Um,
I just want to say how gorgeous she is. She has no makeup on in this scene. Look at her. She just is like, she radiates beauty. I just like, I just can't get over it. I just was looking at her and I was like, God, you're so beautiful. And I think that especially like, we never see beautiful people on the show. It's hardly ever. But like also,
Amber.
you're right. You're right. You're right. And we're in a, you know what? That's rude of me to say. And I think Puppy's really pretty. There is some.
Yeah.
But I think that also we just live in a world of filters and stuff like that. So when you see someone who's just like so naturally pretty, you're like, oh, that's what it's
Lindsay.
about. I think Lindsay's gorgeous, and I think Brittany's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what? I'm really wrong.
I'll delete it. Don't worry. It's 17 something. Okay, okay. I'll write it down.
Oh, remember when we were supposed to pause for commercials?
Forget every time. Let's do that. So let's pause for a commercial at 17:48. Okay, and then at 17, we're gonna look at that. Okay, and then we're gonna come back at 18. Yeah, so I mean, she just has her handfuls at every time when it comes to Cameron. So before they see the gender of the baby, she is like, "What do you want it to be?" And he's like, "I want it to be a boy because I'm surrounded by female energy and I can't take it." Which made me go,
Did you say also what kind of customer service rep has he been doing this whole time? I want to know, like, does he work at Verizon? Like, is he, like what? I was like, customer service rep is just that kind of phrase where it could be literally anything and everything.
anything. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, I kind of like it. I don't like it, but it's okay. And I'm like, you're about to get fired. You're two mistakes from getting fired, because he just doesn't like it when people tell him what to do. He's like, I went from being like my own person and being a rapper to now having to be somebody's, whatever. And I'm like, that's actually really lucky of you that you've never had to work for a company and like have a boss. It's kind of great for you. I'm happy for you. However, those choices, unfortunately, weren't the right choices for you.
Right. So when you say you're happy for him, I think that if maybe there's a lot of discipline that happens in like having a job that has its set hours. So for him to say that means something. And when Lindsay says it later, it means something. And when Amber wants, a job, it all means something, which is a certain amount of a ritualistic schedule where you have to report and have responsibility and you have, accountability. So I mean, it's all good things in some way, and outputting work begets work, but it's like it's not in the capitalistic sense. I don't mean to say it like that, but I think that there also is something in accomplishing and getting a paycheck, hopefully people are, in places that they're being respected and it's not like grueling work. But anyway, God bless. So basically, I will also say I love this nurse tech. She's so cute. She's like, "Hey guys," she's like, if you want to know the sex, usually it's like little turtle something this and little something like that. I like didn't understand for some reason. I can't ever really ever see anything on baby ultrasounds. Like, I don't understand how they see anything. Like they're always like, "Look at this, it's the hand." I'm always like, "Oh yeah, I don't see it."
Well, yeah.
So it's just that's the truth. But I love this nurse tech. I think that she's super cute. Like she knows she's on TV, but she's like, I can take a picture. I can, say whatever you want because I want to take a picture for Lena, like saying like, "Oh, you're gonna be a big sister." I think it's cute. They do that. They go home. Now they're gonna have a combo, knowing Lena's gonna come in. Cameron was upset that he wasn't going to have a dude in his life, a little bro, but I think that he's someone who probably so because I think the universe gives him women in his life because I think that he needs constant checking. And I think that the minute
and the fact that like I don't think that he is a positive representation of what a man should be, and I don't think that he could teach that. I think that sometimes boys want boys because they're like rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, but if you're not the right type of man to like teach the next generation, then I'm not going to be for it. When they get the news that it's a little girl, first of all, he didn't remember that the baby was going to be named Cameron if it was a boy, which is like crazy. But I also was like, why don't you name the baby Cameron if it's a girl? Because Cameron can be a girl's name as well.
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, or like Cammy, Cammy's annoying, but like it could have been a lot of
Cammy is annoying.
Yeah, there could have been some options, but they named her Charlie, which is cute. And he says he's disappointed, but in his confessionals, he says he's going to be like a rock star dad. Like he's really excited for how he's going to love this child, which makes me happy. But then as soon as she talks about her relationship with her father and making it right, especially with the way that they did the wedding, they want to do the baby announcement in a way that's inclusive to her father and allows her father to be at milestones in her life. He gets like, well, that's not my problem. That's your problem. And she's like, well, we're married now, so it's now your problem. And she's like, he's like, no, I did what I was supposed to do. I got out of prison. I married you. We bought a house. I got a job. And now, so I don't understand why I had to prove anything to this person. And she's like, well, he's my father and he means everything to me and I love him. And, but besides, without spelling out the natural relationship, or not natural, I don't want to say that because if that's not everybody's experience, but the seemingly natural relationship, or could be natural relationship, between father and daughter is that the father is rather protective of who the daughter gets with in marriage. Some cultures it's to betterment of the family, and some cultures it's because he wants to make sure that his daughter is well taken care of. And Eris took that from him in order to give something to Cameron. And so Cameron doesn't recognize that, and he thinks it's her fault and her problem to manage. And he doesn't owe that man anything.
That's so astute. I mean, like the way that you're right. He doesn't see that as like the give. Like he is blind to it. So like that's why it's a selfish thing. But it's so interesting because there is this idea that a lot of men have when they come out that they don't owe anyone shit. Now, it's not, it's always that they feel this way where they don't owe like having to defend themselves to anyone, and that anyone is usually the parents and or the loved ones of the person you are with. It's not, as well as it could be like employers you want to start to be with, or but it's so funny because I don't mean to be whatever, but it's, dude, like you kind of could use a moment of redemption. Like you just get out of prison for something. Like I don't mean to like hold that against you, but I at the same time don't feel like you need to come on a high horse and be like, I don't have anything to prove. Well,
yeah, the truth is that
you can prove something.
Prison is bad. Going to prison is not not a great thing, right? It happens to people. Listen, it happened to somebody who I'd very much love in my family, and it happened to them. But the stigma around it, especially if it wasn't because of a complete accident, or it wasn't because circumstances that just wound you up in a situation that you didn't know everything was going to go left. Like, you started off the day super positive, never committed a crime in your life, and all of a sudden you ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? Bar those reasons, going to prison is fucking bad, especially for Cam's reason, for trafficking drugs. Like, I'm sorry, being a drug dealer and going to prison is not like, oh, okay, he didn't know what he was doing. It was an accident. Like, no. These are the cause and effects of your choices. So yeah, you do owe people. You owe your loved ones, and you owe any loved ones' family members who have a problem with you. You have to prove to them that you are who you say you are. And he says, like, I don't have to prove it. I've done all the things that I need to do. Yeah, that's true. You have. And that's one good step in the right direction, or maybe two good steps in the right direction. But this man doesn't know you. And his daughter has seemingly lost her mind and married somebody who went to prison. So now you do have to prove something, period and point blank. Like, and it makes me mad that she has to kind of like back out of it, because his first thing is like, man, you're stressing the baby out. And she's like, no, you're stressing me out. And she has to back out of this conversation because he's getting super defensive. Even when she says, I feel like you're getting defensive. Like, I'm not saying that you're to blame. I'm saying that there is a cause and effect, and we have to rectify this with my father and you and I together. And then when they get to the house, I don't know, maybe 2 hours later, he realizes what she was saying. He realizes that he is now the father of a daughter, and he probably will want somebody who got out of prison to come and talk to him, should that be his situation. And he actually says that. He's like, listen, I didn't have a man figure in my life. I only was raised by a single mother. I've never had to answer to anybody. And when I have had to answer to people, it has not gone well. So I don't understand where she's coming from. But I do understand what she's saying to me. And like, she's going to have to be patient. And from there, I was like, it's great that he, a couple of hours later, can like acknowledge his wrongdoing and apologize to her. But how long? When is he just going to, whenever she confronts him with something, take a step back and be able to, like, in the moment say, you know what, I'm feeling a certain way that is different than what you feel. Give me a second. Let me process what you're saying, and let me see if it makes any difference, and I'll get back to you in an hour. Like something, because this back and forth where she has to be the one to like pull herself back and be like, okay, we're going to table this conversation for an hour. I mean, listen, these are all the reasons why I can't be a teacher. Because you don't get it the first time, you're dumb. Go in the remedial classes. Like, I need you to get it together.
No, I know, but obviously she has to understand. I mean, if you were decided to be with someone like Cam, then you would have to understand that you decided to be with someone like Cam. So I understand where you're coming from, but then if you were with someone who probably wasn't emotionally mature, then if you said that to me, I'd be like, well, you made this decision. I mean,
yeah, no,
Cam.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I couldn't be in that situation.
Yeah. Cam, would be great. Wouldn't it be great if Cam could get a side gig working at like a psychiatric or like therapy session, not psychiatric, like a therapy room. Cam is so smart and quick. And I feel like if he was given the opportunity to really care or understand mental health and how his patterns and certain things, the way that he behaves is ingrained in him, I think that he'd be down a rabbit hole, really excited about it, but he would have to get it in. So let's move on. Not move on, but the next part that is interesting with them is that Lena comes downstairs, and Lena is sporting the cutest Bantu knots. Wow.
No, I just talked for a very long time. I'm gonna leave it up to you. I need to
recap. Okay, well, you had written that note, so I just wanted to see if you wanted to say anything.
Oh no, it was like definitely very cute.
Yeah, I mean, so cute, So basically, Cameron decides to give Lena a little gift, and the gift is the pic that they took in the ultrasound, letting Lena know that she will be in fact a big sister. And she's so sweet. She's so beautiful too, I just got done saying how gorgeous Eris is, and so is Lena. And she's smart, he's like, okay, little Missy, spell pressure. She's like, Pressur. E. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, okay, spell sister. She's like, Sister. He's like, she's like on it. I'm like so happy for her. So, but she's also a little bit annoyed with Cam, I don't want to say like with with Cameron. Like afterward in her little confessional, she's like, oh, he's nice, but like he literally keeps eating all of the food. All of the food he eats in. I like all of the soda and I go home to drink it. It's gone like all the time. All the yummy things. It's so why did mom has to like buy more? He has to buy like he's so small to be eating all of that. But all of my stuff, like the things that you think that he would only like, those are obvious kid things, but he eats those too. Anyway, so let's move on to Amber and Puppy. So Amber is talking to her mom and like her mom is like telling her some hilarious story about a raccoon and a possum. Honey, she's having the time of her life hearing the story. I was kind of in and out of it, but wow, like, do you have anything specific about this story?
She basically said, I know about you and your random pets. And she's like, yeah, about them possums and the raccoon. And the mother's just kikiing about it. I mean, I can only imagine that the mother has, like, in her 50s, was able to kick the drugs, get out of prison, and then also remarry who I'm assuming is the love of her life. What a great story for Amber. Turnaround. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I've heard you and like other people talk about being, of divorced parents, and to like have her parents actually get back together, and to see that maybe, was it just the drugs that kind of kept them apart? Like, was it just her addiction and everything? And, I think this is the kind of relationship that Bliss would want, where from Love Is Blind, where like you guys were soulmates and meant to be together. But she's talking to them, and she basically asks them for $50K for the business, and they're like, we're gonna have to think about that. And I'm like, I'm so happy that you have parents that have $50K to possibly give you.
Yeah, that was really nice, but like, but she wants the restaurant. It always felt like it came a little easy for her, but God bless. She also says that she has been hitting the gym, that's been also making her feel good. Later on, when we see the gym, it's obvious it's a Gold's gym anyway, because like it just says gym in the Gold's cursive, but you don't see the Gold's part. So, she has a little time though before the gym when we actually see it, where she's running errands with TC. They're doing those Saturday time where you go to one thing, but it turns into 5 things. It's Home Depot, it's Target, it's CVS, honey. It's like, oh, it's Whole Foods. It's like you just like do all the things you need them, and then you get home and you just like, things are done. You get to put everything away. You maybe have some new things to tinker with. I love that kind of stuff, and it feels very, kind of healthy, safe, self-care, ritualistic, like you're getting things done. So basically TC does not like to talk. We know this about his emotions, especially about the fact that they almost had a baby, but they didn't have a baby because she had to have an abortion due to her health. And he's just like, he literally shuts up when she tries to talk about it. He's not into it, and he can be a little dismissive, it feels like, or cold when she comes to him with things. But it's also, I think also, he doesn't understand how to communicate or give her what she wants, and his natural way is to solve problems or to tell her what to do. So he's like, well, you feel better if you once you start going to the gym, you feel better, and that's just, it feels like a very textbook way of two people who aren't being able to give each other what they want, or being able to like help each other, and they think they are. So
I think that he kind of blames her for it. And I also judge him for I judge him for being mad at her, or something, like his an inability to help her through this makes me judge him, because I feel like, why do you think that whatever you're feeling is the same as whatever she's feeling? She's the woman, and this is one of the one things where I'm going to be freaking selfish and sexist about. If your woman has to either lose the baby, get an abortion, or something, then you as the man will never truly understand what that is. Whatever your feelings about not having a child, and whatever like moral or religious beliefs that you have behind that, is nothing compared to what it might feel like to that woman. Nothing.
absolutely.
You get to have feelings, but your feelings don't get to be bigger than hers. And if you are unable, I think this is what the problem is. It's the fact that you are mad about the abortion or sad about the abortion, but in that madness and sadness, you're unable to put her feelings first, which makes me believe that you put more value in the not born. I can't even say child because I don't even know at what she was, 2 months, maybe. Like, it's not even a child yet to me. So I'm like, you put more value into that and you're going to ignore the full and flesh and blood person that's in front of you? Or you're going to only think about yourself when it comes to this? Like, I just judge that immensely. And we get to the point where she's trying to talk to him about it. And she says, are we ever going to be able to talk about it? And he's like, you can talk about it for sure. You can, I guess, tell me. I don't know what it is that he means by that. And they're in this weird garden store with Christmas decorations. And
yeah,
then the next scene we have is her at the gym, and she invites Puppy. We see her trainer, who's excited to see her again, and I'm happy that she used to work out. Like, how exciting for her! And she's like, "Listen, I don't know why I'm not doing this. Like, I have nothing else to do, so I might as well do it." So she goes to the gym, and she's talking with Puppy. And Puppy has a way of trying to describe this, but it ends up making it seem like Puppy is just being selfish, which she is. Like, and this is the first time I'm like, oh, Puppy is like completely only kind of thinking about herself. Is like basically like, you should leave TC because he doesn't like me.
Yes.
And I need you. And he isn't even helping you with this pregnancy. I would help you through the pregnancy because I feel like at the end of the day, I think Puppy truly is bisexual and Amber is her love.
You know, we haven't seen that in a minute, so I can see what you're saying, but we haven't, like, there hasn't been any, like, talk of that in a second. But, you know, I agree. She's like, she very much wants TC gone. And, you know, they're working out at this Gold's Gym and they're lifting weights on metal. It's weight resistance machines. And they're like like, it looks so hard and like they're just clinking and clanking, and Puppy looks like she, you know, like doesn't hit the gym in this way that much. You know what I'm saying? Like she
says it's been 15 years.
Yeah, she's doing weird arm things that are not in any sort of form. I'm like, where is this personal trainer? She is, you know, basically just a talk shit and get her to like leave TC, you know. I'm like, just put Puppy, honey, like on a treadmill or something. You know, like only because I'm not saying that she has to do cardio. I'm just saying put her on a machine where she's not going to hurt herself, like elliptical. You know, like there's nothing like working out on a pre-core or an elliptical in the sense that I feel like it's, unless you're doing hard resistance, it's really easy to just beep bop the whole time. It's so much fun. Like I feel like I did so many years of like just on an elliptical back and forth, barely any resistance for like 30 minutes being like, boy, I hardly sweat, but I was on this cardio machine for 30 minutes. So, you know, that's math. Math. So, basically, yeah, she wants to get her to leave TC. She's wearing an I Inspire Me shirt, which, you know, she's also trying to inspire her to leave honey TC. And she's also just mad because she's like, I can't even sleep on your couch, you know? And then Amber kind of gets upset. She's like, look, the reason why is because I share space with someone and you decided to share space with fucking Eric, who's disgusting. So you made a decision and you can't fuck over my life because I made a decision to live with someone who has 3 sons and you're with Eric and we know who that person is, like falling asleep like at the wheel of his weird dumb cheap car Mustang that he speeds around like it's like, you know, like if he speeds around like it's like a Bugatti or whatever the hell it is, it's not. So
yeah, and Puppy's lonely, so she's like, Puppy, how you doing? I'm lonely. I'm sleeping by myself. And this is what makes me believe that she feels like Amber should fill that void for her. And this is where I'm like, oh, it's selfish. And Amber recognizes how selfish it is, and she gets upset. And she like is like, it's not my problem. And like, you know, she says the last time that Puppy was there for her was in prison. And so Puppy hasn't been able to be there for Amber in the way that Amber is there for Puppy, because I think it's tied to the fact that Puppy was in love with Amber in prison, and that's what she was giving, is the love and the support of a partner, not the love and support of a best friend. And now that her best friend, who's somebody that she might, want to rely on, she feels like she can't because that person's partner doesn't like her. And she doesn't know how to manage that. And I don't imagine that many people didn't like Puppy in her life. Like, no matter wherever she is or what she's done, I don't think many people didn't like her. So she gets upset and she's like, Amber's been drinking all the time and I'm the bad one. And she like blows Amber's cover. And Amber earlier in this episode had just finished saying that like her and Puppy, or how her and her mother were actually sober for X amount of years. And her mother, like, she would have never thought that 8 years ago, her and her mother would ever be in the position that they're in now. And I think that's so sad that like your parent, and I've said this before, it's always so sad to me when someone's parent is part of that crowd that is that bad influence. Like, your parent is supposed to be the person that provides that safe space for you. And when they don't do that, how you must feel like you have to do everything on your own. I mean, they fight about the parole space. I gave up my parole for you. Well, I gave it back to you. I went to the thing and did it. And I mean, in this instance, I'm going to go on ahead and say that I think that Puppy's being selfish. And normally I wouldn't say that, but like in this moment, I think that Puppy's being selfish, especially because it's not like she's like, I want to be in your life to help you through your depression from the abortion, but it's like, you should leave TC because he's not helping you through it. And then you should be like with me and Queen again or something like that. It feels selfish. And so Amber ends up leaving the gym and she's like frustrated. She's talking with producers and then her mother calls and her mother's like, listen, we don't think that you should be owning a bar/restaurant right now because you've got a drinking problem. And we then go, damn, Amber has a drinking problem. And so while she says that she's sober, she means sober from like hard drugs, not legal addictive items.
Or California. Yeah, we don't know about California sober.
And TC also drinks too. And he drinks with her. So they've both been drinking together. Mm-hmm. And so it's like a toxic situation, especially because they're drinking and then he's still not talking to her. And so the parents make that choice and say, no, we don't think that we should do this for you. And her heart is broken, but I think Amber's level-headed enough to probably understand that she has a problem and she probably needs to get it fixed.
Yeah, like the way that her dad says it is, faithfully, I cannot help you with this venture. And I was like, oh, yeah, faithfully, I cannot help you with this venture. I'm going to keep that in mind. Isn't that a great way of saying no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is.
Anytime anyone says anything, like, do you want to come, meet me at 8:00 a.m. to like do some sort of boot camp? Like, faithfully, I cannot help you with this venture. But anyway, so basically, this whole time Amber's been having this conversation with about not getting the loan outside in the parking lot after this blow up with Puppy, who's still inside, I don't know, fake working out or whatever, not really, just being like really just blowing Amber's spot about how much she's drinking. And then they make up. And then they're just like, get in the truck, bitch. And that's the end of that. We have to move on. Blaine and Lindsay. Oh, this is boring because, well, this is better than other things, but like some things just seem like a little like not necessary. So Lindsay's mad at Blaine for like not packing and cleaning versus suddenly having to move because the lease is up of where they're moving. And so she's always like mad at him or like yelling at him. It's just like, God damn it, Blaine, have you done anything yet?
No, don't do your voice for Angela Deem for Lindsay. I need you to do some character work and come up with a different voice. How dare you? Also, you're looking away from the mic. If you could just like look at the mic and speak into it, that'd be great for me.
It's like being raised, but like, like, could you imagine doing a podcast with like some sort of version of like Gypsy Rose Lee's mom? Like, what a nightmare. So anyway, I thought why I signed up for this. So anyway, so basically, she has to go get Miley, because Miley's being a 13-year-old, which is like an attitude, and Blaine's like, just like you're having attitude, like daughter like mom, like mom. So then she says that she's been 14 months sober and she now has a full-time job at a rehab and she loves it. She has those regular hours, honey. She's like working with people who are like also coming off the drugs, honey. There's like a full circle moment. She's feel like she's giving back. They bring Miley Grace to the new place and Miley Grace hates it. She said it smells like mold and death, and also like, we're fixing to have a problem, Mom. There's no Wi-Fi, so there's no Wi-Fi. They go in. Now Blaine is in that place, and Lindsay yells at him again, like, Blaine, haven't done anything. Like, I don't understand. She's always yelling at him. And Blaine, and like, she's like, what'd you do, play video games, Blaine? Blaine was like napping. I mean, okay.
No, so Chris, this is what it is. They had to move out of their home because that lease was up into this new space.
Yeah.
She works from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. and he works part-time, God knows what hours. She comes home and she's like, Blaine, you haven't unpacked anything. So I don't understand. You've been home all day. I've been at work all day. I'm tired. I would like me to go to sleep. So like, put something away. I have to go get Miley Grace. I'll be back. She leaves. She comes back and his motherfucker is asleep, charging his fucking ankle monitor. You don't think you'd be mad? No, you wouldn't. Actually, I know you wouldn't. I know you. You wouldn't be mad.
But I have more grace for people.
Yeah.
He's napping. Okay, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
She works. And he doesn't.
Right,
and they just moved to him. There's boxes everywhere. He's napping.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing. Blaine done saved her life. Blaine fixed and saved her life. Like, she came out of prison. Where did she go? Not her mom's house. Where'd she go? Blaine's house. Blaine had a whole ass house, a whole ass job, and a pair of lips, honey, that she kissed and got herself away from Deontay. So, I mean, like, Blaine did a lot of things we can talk about when she makes. Okay, so anyway, blah, blah. So then Blaine's like, okay, on me, we're going to do a fun thing. It's on me. So they all get in the car and they're going to go paintballing, okay? But Miley Grace is not into it. She's just like, I don't want to be shot, and so like she walks away and Miley and her look the exact same. Like, now in this one edit of Miley walking away of Lindsay, they sharped us, okay? Which is they made it seem like it was a big ass fucking deal and that Lindsay was like, what? Oh my God, and then it wasn't at all. Where it was just like she walks away, she's like, you don't want to shoot? And then she looks in the room, she's like, you don't want to watch me do anything? And Miley Grace is like, and she's like, okay, now it's my turn. And then they just basically paintball a little bit until Blaine just decides to lay on top of her and then they come and shoot him and then they're out. Now, here's the thing. I don't know about paintball when you could do laser tag, which kind of feels like the fun version of it and like the slightly less painful version. And by slightly, I mean a lot less painful because you don't actually, like get hit by a thing. You get hit by like a laser beam and you can also do it in the dark. But that's not what happened to them. She gets hit. Or he gets hit and then they go back and, like Miley's like, I'm so happy I didn't do this. I'm like so bored by this. And they get in the car and they're like talking, Miley Grace in the back seat. And like, like, it's like, yeah, it was like so much fun. It was like really, really hard or whatever. Miley's like, yeah, it's because you don't run. And just like, you don't run. You're like, so and not athletic, Mom. You're such like lazy turd. And so like she gets out and Lindsay's just like, I fucking hate the age of 13. This is not a fun age. This age sucks. And then so they have to get back real fast because he has an ankle monitor, and so there's certain hours. And so she calls her mom and she's like, yeah, I literally just dropped Miley Grace off, like, like what's been happening, like I didn't get to like, like say hi to you. And the mom's like, yeah, I know, she didn't talk to me, she went right to their room. And Lindsay's like, yeah, is that what it is now? And then so from this conversation, which is boring, Lindsay like loses her mind, where then she like blows up, and they sharp us again, which wants to make us feel like she gets violent, which is just maybe somewhat her hitting a garage door, but they make it seem like really, really intense. But basically she's like, it all comes down to me, when it's like, all right, babe, just so you know, your daughter lives with someone else, your mom. You came out of prison. Blaine gave you everything. You just got a job, which is great for you. Like, all you have to do is like move, which sucks. It's just, you're fine.
And wherein I have more grace for her and understand the stress of feeling like everything is on your shoulders. Let's move on to another boring couple, which is Derek and Monique. I'm going to just tell you what happened, and I'm going to say it in like a couple of sentences. And Chris, you can jump in at the end and say what you want to say about them. One, he's at the airport and he's like, where you at? And she's like, I'm coming. She gets there, picks him up. He unravels the flowers that he got for her. And she's like, "That's so sweet." And she's like mildly whistling through the gap in her teeth. Then she
Oh my
gets
God.
to the house and all the lights in the home are on. And I'm thinking, whose house is this? How do you afford this? And what do you do for work? Because if that's the case, I need to move to Chicago and get me a whole house too. And
Mm.
so they get in the house
Mm-hmm.
and she shows him around and he's like, "Oh, you ain't got this." She's like, "I just moved in." And so then she shows him to his room and he's like, "Oh, look at these mirrors. We could have a lot of fun watching ourselves in this mirror." And she's like, So he then leaves and he goes into the kitchen to jump up on her counters and hide a ring in a place that she would never look because he knows she snoops in his stuff. Now, I want to know, did you take your shoes off before you hopped on her counter? It was really important to me to find out, and the camera crew didn't show it to me. So he gets down and he's like, "Monique, what are you doing?" And she's like, "Huh?" And she's all up in his stuff, snooping. And she can't even like snoop with his bag on the ground. So she picks it up and puts it on the bed so she can snoop through it. And this is all set up, right? Because she just happens to know that she can do all of this. She's not moving quickly. So she could do all of this while he's in the kitchen doing whatever. And he pours her the biggest glass of wine I've ever seen, which makes me believe that she drinks a lot.
It is like, I mean, it is the entire, I mean, I'm obviously drinking a lot of this, but it just wasn't this filled up. It's so much, and he does not pour himself as much. It's Bogle, Bogle, and he tries to open it with scissors. She, when she's looking through his stuff, it's so interesting. She also, like, by the way, said that his love language is money and not gifts, money, but whatever, same thing. I love when I love when she's going through his stuff and he asks what she's doing and she says, "Just washing my face. Like, we're never gonna see you without full face." So, like, like that, like, how did you think you're gonna get out of that? But also every time he moves, he's like, "Okay, Monique, I'm gonna come to the room now. Okay, Monique, I'm in the hallway. Okay, Monique, what are you doing?" And she's just like, whatever. But like, she's like, "Nothing." So then they go into the room and she is like, "So where's your phone?" He's like, "I don't know." And he's like, "It's in my room." And she's like, "No, it's not, because I went through." He's like, "You can't be snooping or whatever." And she wants to know who he's been talking to, what the information is. She wants to cross-check numbers. She's like, I looked in your call log and I don't know this number that you called at 4:15 and 4:17. He's like, "No, that person called me." She's like, "No, you called them. Who is, I want to look now in your phone and see who that person is." And
he's just like, "Yeah, no, you can't be snooping." And then this is all fraudulent. This is all fraud. And she's like, "Since you want to act this way, then you can sleep by yourself and then you can leave tomorrow. I don't even want you to be here anymore. I'll let you PO here because this is your address." But and so we have this scene of him standing outside of her bedroom door as she closes the door and says bye. Girl, they're having sex tonight. What are you talking about?
mm-hmm. Those flowers, she like, love language is money, like if his love language is money,
that's not even a love language, Chris. That's not even a love language.
Gifts is.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, it would be her love language because he is giving it to her. So it's like, is your love language gifts? Do you get turned on by gifts? Because you can say that his love language is gifts, and we would believe it because you bought him like fancy crab dinners or fancy lobster dinners, whatever it was. So let's move on to the last Coops Badoops. And that is, I mean, a really horror story. Chance and Taylor. Last we picked up, I mean, I hate it. Chance, we picked up Chance. He had just blown $70 in a video poker thing when he was not at all A, employed, or B, after he had like come clean about his whole gambling addiction in a financial therapy session, and also C, he just had his kid. So he's the dumbest fucking person ever, and I hate him so much. But he's now in the house, and he brings the Taylor's with the baby. The baby sort of crying, and then he like grabs the baby. He's like, "The baby never cries with daddy." And then she's like, "Where were you?" And he's like, "I will have to fucking tell you where I was. I was with my friend Daryl. Like my fucking best friend Daryl. I was at Daryl's house, not Daryl's house. Just kidding, Daryl's Borg, which just happens to be a bar. That was at a bar. We were drinking shots. It is so crazy the way he's like, I don't have to fucking tell you where I was when where he is at a bar.
Yeah.
He's at a bar drinking, but he feels like he doesn't have to tell you because his friend owns it, which is asinine. And his whole, like, he draws a boundary, an invisible boundary that is not logical in his head, that there is no reason that he should inform Taylor of anything he does with a quote unquote friend. If you can put a person any person in the quote unquote friend category, then that person is now exempt from having to like tell you anything or having him to tell you anything about that relationship with him. It's just so weird. And the entire scene is him gaslighting, and she calls him on it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think this could be the worst and or most upsetting relationship now for me to watch, in that he is a manipulative, narcissistic asshole. He's going to go right back to prison. I mean, that man is one step away from prison. And I have never said that, I feel like, on this show. Like, I think that certain people were like maybe like on drugs or whatever, but I think that when people go to prison, you know, not because they're on drugs, that's fucked up. People usually go to prison because they had to steal or whatever, like get the drugs or whatever, you know. But this man's going to go to prison for whatever the fuck reason because he's a stupid asshole, and he believes that he is somehow above, smarter, better, and or like he is so hurt, so unable to be like truly present. I mean, Alina's telling you. So go on.
Yeah, so I think that what's happening with Chance is that he's such a fuck up, and deep down below, he is so embarrassed by it that he got with somebody that he believes is beneath him, that he feels like physically. I mean, listen, Taylor is sweet as pie, but I think that he thinks he's better looking than her, and I think that anyone would say that he's better looking than her. Like, he's handsome. Like undoubtedly, he is a handsome feller. And I think that he's chosen her because she has 3 kids and that she might seem mildly desperate and like a pushover. And he doesn't want her to question him. And then, I mean, the way he gaslights her is so unacceptable and unredeemable, in my opinion, that the fact that she doesn't immediately kick him out of her house shows just how much how insecure she is, and she ends up saying it at the end. This whole time, I guess I didn't think she was until she said it. So he is sitting with the baby on him, and she's like, why'd you go and do that? We have a 2-month-old. Like, you can't just leave me here. And because you feel like you need to de-stress and go smoke, go like have drinks with your friends. Like, if anything, he should be having drinks at the house. He should just take that money, go buy some tequila or whatever, and have those drinks at the house with her. So at least like he can be there to, she can see him, as opposed to just leaving her with all of these kids that he said he would help her with. And he's like, gets upset, and he's like, man, I don't have to do all this. He like flips his phone, which could have easily hit the baby, and he like walks out. And like, guess what? I guess you can pay all these bills on your own. And like the whole time he's like, I feel like such a liar because I don't have a job and I haven't told Taylor. So this whole time, and I you know what I call fraud? I think she knows he doesn't have a job. I think she knows it. And that's why he's like, you can figure it out. Because the truth is, why isn't he power washing driveways right now? Why isn't he doing all those other side gigs that he said he was going to do outside of construction work? So he leaves.
Can I ask a question? And then, why doesn't he drive for Uber?
I don't know. Maybe because wherever, I don't know. So he then like, he goes outside and they're like, or in the garage, and like smoke on this ornate chair. And he then, he just does something that I find to be unforgivable. He goes on the most gaslighting of tirades he could ever go on. He tells her, I talk to Tanya because she makes me feel better. I want to talk to you. I do. But every time I talk to you, you get mad at me. And I said to myself, the reason why is because Tanya has no skin in the game. You can tell Tanya you fucking fucked a horse, spent all the money, and did a line of coke on the streets of Las Vegas, and it wouldn't matter to Tanya because it doesn't affect her. But you can't tell a woman who you're living with 3 kids and 1 on the way that you are skipping out of work to go gamble at the casino. You can't tell that to someone and have them not be upset. So don't use this against her. And then she's like, if you wouldn't be, talking to these other women, I'm insecure. I don't want to feel like you're not going to be around or whatever. And it's like all of the like game talking that she was talking about, how she can go through his phone and she can do whatever. In this moment when she was being vulnerable, I felt so bad for her, because I'm like, the only smart choice you made was not marrying him, but everything else was the wrong move.
Yes. And it's so sad because she picked a man because she's so insecure. And I need her to, and I need us to, and I need women to understand that we see how when we think that we deserve less, we get less. So I think that she doesn't deserve this. And I think I feel so bad that he's just like, yeah, if I want to get money from this woman who I was talking to at the same time as you in prison, and that's just my friend, and I already know the friend clause. If it's a friend, it's a friend. Daryl's a friend, Tanya's a friend, was bitch work Jess, whatever the fuck. I mean, they're all friends, and once I say it's a friend, I can do whatever I want.
He calls Taylor this chick outside of the house. He's like, I could have been with Tanya, who like paid $275 for my lawyer. Instead, I'm with this chick. And I was like, $275? Not 2,000? Yeah, not $2,000. Like, yeah, we can give Tanya an award if she gave you $2,000. She would be a fool. But we can give her an award and say she held you down. But $275, a boy, get out of here with that. Mm-hmm. I mean, the mother of your child, you went over here and you moved into her home and you like got her pregnant, and she was a part of it too, don't get me wrong, but like she knew not to marry him. And it's like at that point, why did you have his baby? So it's really hard to talk about this with her because there's so many bad choices were made. And yeah,
it's so crazy. It is crazy. $275 doesn't seem like a lot of money, but the whole time with him, like this is gonna sound so crazy, but his idea of money is like a third world country's idea of money when it comes to me. Like, I'm so sorry to say this, but like his credit limits, like on some credit cards, $300 and $500. I've never experienced that as an adult. It's like going to a third world country and be like, oh, your $1 here is like 2,000 here, and it's like, oh, it's like this man's idea of like 275 for a lawyer just seems like a big idea for this man. Just like the devastation of blowing $70, which he shouldn't be doing, gambling. Like $70 is annoying, but like it's not devastating to lose. But for this man in this time with no money, it is, because this man works on pennies. This man's world is pennies. And I don't mean to be rude, because it is a privilege for me to say that, but I want to be rude because he feels like he needs to be taken down a peg. So if for any reason he ever hears this, you have to understand how small your world is and how you have to step it up. Like like you are lost in the sauce when it comes to this money situation. And like any sort of hotness you think you are, or how you think that you got yourself into a situation with Taylor, like it's like, this makes you feel like a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
whenever anybody talks about like anything under $100, I'm always like, oh, you're talking about the difference between paying a bill and not paying a bill. Like, to $70 is my internet. So like, oh, okay, so you couldn't pay internet. That's how I think of it. And I'm like, it's down to that, then it's a different scope than what I'm managing. Cause like at the end of the day, like it would be thousands that I would have to, like, 2,000, and I'm like, oh, I can't pay rent. But like, yeah, it's a different bracket. And for him to, I don't know, Taylor opened his home to him. He wouldn't have a fucking home to go to. And I didn't watch their first season, so I don't know their origin story. So I came in, whatever, I guess 2 seasons ago, and I knew she was dumb, but now I'm like, wow, she's crazy. Anyways, so y'all, if you guys want to see the visuals and all the facial expressions that Chris and I have been making for this episode, you can join us on Patreon for $10 a month. You get the episode immediately after we finish filming it, the video version. You also get a live every first Monday of the month. You get exclusive content. I'm going to be doing 90 Day Fiance season 1 recap at some point, and we can talk about that. We do all the relationship reality stuff, so you'll be able to see it all, and it's a good time. So join us here. And if you would like to not do that, but also want to follow us on other things, you could do so. And Chris will tell you what that is.
We have social media. Have you heard of that weird thing? Yes, it's true. On Instagram, please follow and like all of our things. Like literally go down the list. It's at DocuSweeties on Instagram, at DocuSweeties on TikTok, and at DocuSweeties1 on Twitter. At the same time, we can give you visuals like my cute hair and pigtails with matching bangs. Wow, how? Oh, you already did that?
Patreon.com/DocuSweeties.
Love you so much. Anyway, here's the thing. We have had such a beautiful night with you guys. We want to say happy spring, happy Easter, happy Passover, happy Ramadan. Wherever you are, we hope that like a beautiful, loving, warm light is coming into your lives, honey. Like freshness is coming in. Get out the old, like just enjoy the ritual, the season of it. It's spring. Stuff is supposed to pop up. The work that you've been doing is going to start to like bubble up, believe in it. It's coming. We love you so much, and we'll talk to you later. Okay, babes?
Bye.
Bye.